most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to the Racehour. This year sponsored by Bet365, a new sponsor. Well done, Dermo. You're back. Diarmuid Nolan is here. Tony Keenan is here. Diarmuid, I've seen less sponsors over the years on those rally cags.
Yeah, or like a Premier League team has all the sleeve sponsors now and everything. Yeah.
You should be an agent anyway. You could get more. You secure more sponsors than anyone I've ever met in your life. So, but we're in it for the long haul with 365, are we?
Please God. Look,
yeah. Okay. Well, good.
That's sure that I'm on board.
How have you been the last 6 months, TK?
It's been great. It feels like 6 months getting ready for this show this evening with the technology issues alone. But anyway, we are here now and good to get going. We had a good evening's crack last night there, Stephen. But anyway, good stuff.
Yes. Well, we'll apologise for any sound quality issues. I'm on my third venue here upstairs, and good old Queely's Pub is the third venue. After home failed, the shop failed with the Wi-Fi, and now we're upstairs borrowing the Wi-Fi from Queely's. Right, so today, on today's show, we're going to talk about horses that have caught our eye in the National Hunt season so far. We're going to look at the top 10 hurdlers from last season. We'll hear from Pat Cooney from Bet365, and we'll kind of have a chat about any dark horses, any even bets we might have to put into the old sheet of justice, as we used to call it last year. But first of all, to catch up, I suppose, and look at what has been happening on the flat. Tony, you had a few things to talk about punting wise and lessons learned on the flat.
Don't worry, I'm not going to give a full recap on the 6 months of probably one of the least memorable flat seasons of all time by most people's account in terms of top class horses. But I know this is a jump show, but I don't really think that racing punters stop at the end of April and don't have a bet until the start of November. Most people, I'm sure, stick away, and I'd certainly be a little bit like that. Like November to March, I'm mainly a jumps punter, and then April I do a bit of both, and May to October I'm flat. So I had just a few thoughts on the different things that were going on in the flat this season. I suppose the first thing that started in Ireland at the start of the year, they regraded the bottom grade, like they brought in new races, not to 65. Or not to 60, should I say. That was an absolute godsend for me because I just binned them off straight away. Like that was I think those races were awful all season. No offence to the people that are keeping horses and training for them, fair play to them. But not looking at them was a big help kind of in cutting back time. This next point I have to make is just a very obvious one, but again and again, like Aidan O'Brien versus everybody is just such a one-sided kind of match, especially with the 2-year-olds. And it doesn't seem to matter whether his horse is beaten by its opponent the first day, whether the other horse is better form apparently from the first day, whether it looks like it'll improve for the run. He just seems to be able to pass them all out, whether it be Ger Lyons, whether it be Joseph, whether it be Harrington. It's just kind of incredible. And I suppose for the jumps, it's just replaced O'Brien with Mullins, really, isn't it? Especially after kind of the first few weeks of the season. This seems to be what happens. Now, on the subject of Harrington, Jessica Harrington now would be a yard that I definitely would have followed over the years. And I think I done kind of okay on that. But thankfully, I seemed to spot early on this year that she was having kind of, to be quite frank, a terrible year. And I'm not sure there's something that was really covered that well publicly and stuff like that, which isn't necessarily a negative because, you got to kind of betting it all year or bet kind of against her all year. Like, I'm just looking at her stats here. Like, she had only 42 flat winners there in the calendar year 2025. Like, her lowest other than that since 2019 was 61. Like, so dropping off be a third there, kind of fairly awful. And the 2-year-olds all season weren't progressing at all. Now, I'd feel when you look at the Racing Post website, it does a kind of a thing where you can get the past fortnight stable form up. I feel that never really did justice to how badly she was going. Because it wasn't a 2-week dip, it was a 6-month dip as far as I could see. And I just wonder, could we be looking out, is there a yard in the jumps that's going to do that throughout the winter? Because I just feel like you need to be looking at months and months of form. And there are stables that can go through that, even someone off the size of her top 5 yard on the flat in Ireland. And the last thing I thought, I know you won't be happy at this, Diarmuid. I think I can count on one hand the number of Ante Post bets I had during the flat season, and it was definitely 5 or less. And I'm not sorry about it either. I think the margins had gone very high, and there was definitely a little bit of CBA can't be arse creeping in with me on the Ante Post. I definitely think there's enough opportunity there just day to day with ordinary racing there to be satisfying you. And sometimes the Ante Post can be a little bit of a trap, I would feel. So yeah, that's the flat, and a few little thoughts that might be worth considering for the jumps, particularly that thing. Will there be a big yard that's going to take a dip at some point this season? I don't think it'd be Willie Mullins, funnily enough.
No, very good. And thanks, Tony. I don't think it will be Willie Mullins. That was pretty amazing in Del Mar the weekend, wasn't it, Dermo? I mean, the man he can do everything.
He can't, it's absolutely ridiculous altogether to send one runner there 25-1 and to pick it up, and back that the off too was 50-1 kind of for most of the day there, and then picked him off, and even from the worst stall and everything else, he's just, there's nothing he can't do. I'd say I could only send him my wallet and he might make a good job of that maybe as well. So look, we can see, but it's just kind of hard to see what the man can't do, isn't there?
I thought it was interesting. He made out to the journalists over there afterwards that it was a real mom pop story that Margaret and Andrew Heffernan had bought a horse for their grandchildren, and what a fabulous thing to do for a family. And he made out like these were some little locals around. I'd say a lot of the Irish listeners don't know. Margaret Heffernan has basically been the dominant force in Dunn Stores for the last 30 years, 40 years, and she is a billionaire. And like Willie's there making out like she called me up and she wanted a horse for her grandchildren, and
she only sees them at funerals and weddings.
Yeah, absolute tycoon, like, that's one of its smaller owners.
And this other little owner called JP McManus, and he loves buying a few as well.
Yeah, they could nearly give him a run for his money. I'd say how much money they have. But anyway, good luck to the Heffernans. Fair play to them. Dermo, what has caught your eye with the jump season so far? So it really, are you a Charlie Hall meeting? That's when it gets going.
Yeah. That's why I didn't bring us back before that. It's just kind of, a lot of October is kind of shadow boxing. A lot of trainers not running their horse unless it's properly soft/heavy ground. I'm happy with the decision not to come back too early here. But I thought it was a good weekend racing. I'll leave Down Royal to Tony mostly. On Sunday, there was a horse, friend of the podcast, Robert Tyner. He has the best horse he's ever had, and I have that in good authority. And this horse showed on Sunday. Was 6-5 the night before, went off about 1-3, as Tony said before recording. For Robert Tyner in a maiden hurdle to be smashing one off the board is quite rare. Usually they're kind of drifting out and they might win in a handicap chase the kind of following season. But I'm Slippy is a serious horse named after one of the best greyhounds there was, and that's always a great sign of an owner like Brendan Keogh. I saw on Twitter afterwards loads of people saying JP will buy this horse. Obviously people don't know, but the owner Brendan Keogh, he would have owned that absolute rogue Blast of Coleman, and he would have owned Gortine. This man is a very wealthy man. He will not be selling this horse. I'm Slippy is named after a greyhound derby winner. And this horse won at Fairyhouse last year in a bumper, proper bumper, sales bumper there, 100-grand bumper, beat about 5 Willie Mullins horses, punted off the board that day down to 9-1 from big prices, and has come out this season. And if you just watch it back, he wins in a canter. He's cantering all over him 2 out, nearly comes off because he's kind of dossing, but goes back in the bridle again, jumps to last. He's a beautiful horse, and I'm really interested to see. I've heard for ages that this was the best horse they had. Brendan Keogh said it in the Irish Field a few weeks ago as well. And I'm Slippy just looks something proper. But saying that, don't be getting giddy and backing him for Cheltenham or anything. This horse, Punchestown, will probably be the big aim for him, or Fairyhouse. That's the way these kind of Irish trainers would kind of operate. But Robert Tyner, for a yard that has been through so much, to come back again after retiring and to have the best horse he's ever had now, it's a great story. And hopefully this horse does end up being as good as he was. But my God, he looks something special on Sunday. The other two then I really like as well was Old Man Dingle. Has been really good over fences. I thought he was excellent on Sunday. He beat You Ought to Know, but that was a good field, and he saw them all off quite well. This is a really, really nice horse, and just how easily he jumped. He's just a very smart animal. He has a ceiling, definitely, but I would fancy him to be winning kind of one of those nice handicap chases there as well. As in, he's just a proper kind of horse as well. And then Tap on the Go, he's linked with Old Man Dingle through that form last season at Leopardstown. They both kind of ran against each other in a handicap hurdle. And Tap on the Go, he won recently. He beat Floor by what's that horse's name again, Tony? Floor. Yes. And he beat that horse. And that horse has come out since and won very well. And Tap on the Go jumped excellently that day. Tap on the Go was He was the one I fancied last season for Martin Pipe. He finished fourth in it. I still think the Henry Bromhead Yard misinterpreted the rules and ended up having to run him 3 times pretty much after Christmas to get him qualified for that Martin Pipe hurdle. I do think they got it at that. Something went wrong there, I think, with their planning. Or maybe he got a mishap. I don't know, but he ended up having to run 3 times right before Cheltenham, and he ended up finishing a brilliant fourth. He's come out since. He's just the kind of horse now, Tony, I could see. I don't think he's grade 1 level, but tap on the go. He'd be the kind of horse that could end up going. Remember, Balco, the flow ran well and at Cheltenham and winning a Galway plate. I think he's that kind of horse. He's very good, jumps excellently, just off grade 1 level, but there will be proper chases in him. I like the fact that he started so early. I think they'll kind of keep going with him now. He needs 3 runs anyway to kind of qualify for anything, but there's a massive handicap chasing him. That was a serious performance. So yeah, they're the kind of 3 so far, very early on, but I'm Slippy, Old Man Dingle, and Tap on the Go. I think we're going to be seeing big wins this season from all 3.
Well done, Dermot. I'm sure our sponsors will be thrilled you didn't touch on any UK race in there from Weatherby or Anthem when,
My dark horse now is a North of England horse. So and myself and Pat now in the half time, you'll see we covered the UK action very well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was enjoying the action. I thought what I took from it was Golden Ace. I thought, gee, God, looked like a mare that might never win another race again. Like people would say that she had a bad start to last season, but she was only beaten 4 lengths in her debut last season. So that's what I took from Weatherby.
She looks sour to you, Cass.
Pardon?
She looks sour, does she?
No. Sour's not the word, but like she travelled away fine and then emptied nothing very quickly. And I think she's 7 going on 8, and you don't see many older mares. You don't see many 10-year-old mares knocking around. If they do, they're exceptional. So, or the exception. So
no, it's fair. Then the other kind of UK one as well, I want to ask you about was God Bowen. Like, I know this is the most stupid statement because everyone's mad about him. He's something else, isn't he? He's just a phenomenal. Like, I mean, I haven't seen a jockey this kind of punter's friend since like AP McCoy, maybe, really. Like, as in, it's just unbelievable under drive.
Was he riding the strong leader? That was amazing.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah. Unbelievable. Like,
unbelievable. He is incredible. And what about handstands, Diarmuid, your old friend? You'd have been happy enough. He just kind of got outpaced over 2.5.
Yeah, it was fine last season as well. He was beaten on his debut. Look, they're going for the Coral Gold Cup with him, Cass, the 157. That's a punchy enough mark now to be going for a race like that, isn't it? You nearly want to claim her on him. But last season, he was beaten on his debut by Boom Bon, and he came back afterwards and hammered that horse afterwards. So it doesn't concern me a whole lot. I thought he ran well. And the winner again is a very good horse. So yes,
we've differing information now on what they're going for. I think the Jukebox Man is going for the Coral Gold Cup, but I could be wrong. Well, actually,
I was reading on At the Races, friend of the show Ed Quigley was a piece with him.
Yeah.
I mean, don't very far.
I'm confusing myself. We won't start to see.
You're all good, drunk. We won't argue just yet.
Yeah. Tony, down Royal, it was the usual Gordon Elliott show with a lot of Henry Bromhead thrown in.
Yeah, Jeremy said to me there yesterday, what did you think of the season so far? Well, for me, the season only started on Saturday, to be quite honest. So we will recap just on Saturday. Yeah, Gordon Elliott, I'd say what I said, a decent meeting, 7 winners, broadly in line with what he would have at the meeting. Should have been 8. The horse kind of, in the first race on the Friday, 1 horse fell, and the other, I think, did he bring the other one down? And after that, would have won that race either way. I just don't know where his horse is absolutely cherry ripe for the meeting. Now, I was reading a piece in the Irish Field there last week, and he did say he had his gallop relayed over the summer. So I just wonder if some of them are a little bit behind. I think he referenced the same in the Racing Post as well. So just something to monitor with Elliott. The big race, I suppose, from a pace point of view, was very steadily run. Like, I think there were actually 2 seconds slower than the handicap chase run before that over the same trip. A horse won that Battle of Meerbat. It was a 108 horse. So I'd say that probably suited Enva Allen, and certainly if it didn't suit Affordale Fury, I'd say it was an ordinary race anyway, especially with Spillane Tower coming out. But I would have a bit of time for the Mead horse in second. I think there's a good horse in there who doesn't always kind of help himself with his jumping. Dunnamailer kind of held him up at the start, and obviously wasn't happy with the pace after 5 or 6 fences, pushed him up to press the lead, and then after halfway he tried to send him on. And the problem is when he sent him on, Affordale Fury had a tendency to jump fences slowly, and he just couldn't get the tempo up kind of high enough for him. I think he's straightened out his jumping, which is not a certainty because this has been an issue since the get-go with him, and can get onto a bit of slower ground. There might be a good race in him. I think Western Folk probably reached the seal and maybe had 1 race too many after. I think he's had 10 runs since late December last year. Found the 50 was kind of a funny one. I was surprised that Gordon Elliott even run them there. Like, to me, his strength had been kind of high tempo races back at 2.5 miles, 2 miles, jumping well. It was a fairly flat performance out of him. He is a horse that kind of disappoints and then bounces back. But yeah, wasn't that encouraged by his. Then Firefox won the race after that. I think his night go with a graded race, and he finally kind of won one. I'd say the few fences coming out probably suited him more than it suited Gorgeous Tom, who jumped really well throughout and probably wants a bit further. Be more encouraged with him than actually the winner. And I think there's a comment here from Gordon Elliott afterwards, and it's a little bit the story of his life now in the last few years, and I'd say it applies to a lot of horses that ran at this meeting. And he was just talking about Firefox. He says he's a good horse, but the problem is you're always taking on those really good horses the whole time. And, I think that's the story with Found the 50. It's the story with Romeo Coolio, unless he improves for fences. They do look good at this time of the year, but Mullins just always seems to have something a bit better, doesn't he? And that's something just to be thinking about. You mentioned the Bromhead. Just Darrell O'Keefe seems to be after driving the Bromhead on a little bit there. Like, it's just the power of a young, in sport, a young lad that's hungry and talented can be very, very powerful. And that kind of seems to be the way with O'Keefe there at the minute. He just seems to be flying a couple of...
He gave that Lonesome Boatman on Sunday in the Cork National. When you watch that back, he gave that horse an absolute screamer of a ride as well. He's at some start to the season. Like, that was just one of the most... Just let the horse go. And even 2 out, looked like he could just, like, I love when a jockey's that confident. He could have kind of held him to win the race. He didn't. He threw him at Everton then. He's a super jockey. He's a super jockey.
Yeah, well, look, I suppose that we'll see what he's like when he comes in against Townend in kind of December and January, and maybe the Bromheads aren't going as well, and March and things like that. But definitely, like, he's winning races with pure positivity at the minute, full of joy. On Friday, they have very positive ride. Dropping back and thought he was good again on Lieber Nick on Saturday
as well over in Cheltenham. I thought he was brilliant in Zurich as well. Yeah.
The positivity does. A lot of Irish races, by their nature, are steadily running. If you take the race, by the scruff of the neck, it can work out. So just to mention a couple of maybe lower grade horses that I thought shipped a bit better than the form as well on Saturday. That race that Lieber Nick won, 2 mile handicap hurdle. I thought that was a proper race, well run race. Like, everything seemed to be trying for its life. The race really tight, really competitive. I thought the horse that kind of suffered with the kind of tight proximity others were racing was Sequoia Spirit. He finished up in the front rank early on over 2 miles. He kind of wants to be held up. Jockey kind of allowed him to get shuffled back. Then I think he met a bit of hampering. Then he came wide, kind of a 3 out, made a bit of a move into before flattening out. His race just went arseface for him, and 2 mile around there on goodish ground wouldn't be his thing. I hope to God to go back to Navan for the race on Frytown Day that he won last season over 2.6. If he got a bit of ease in the ground, I'd expect him to be competitive in that again. He's done a lot of racing over 2 miles lately, including in the good handicap in the Stowell, another place that wouldn't really suit him. And another horse there who's not half as old as I thought he was, mentioned him earlier, Battle of Meerbat. Like, his time comparisons relative to Anva Allen make him look good. But more than that, visually, he just looked really sweet in himself and winning that handicap chase on the Saturday. Got into a savage rhythm out in front, jumped really well, set a good pace, found plenty again late. He was winning that at 108. He has been as high as, I think, 125 in the past. So, and he still is only 8. He's had about a year off there. I actually really think the way your man McDonough has trained him and brought him back, I love that. When a horse has been off for a time, I think the worst thing they can do is have a really good run first time back. This whole thing about the bounce back, I think that's definitely a thing, especially with something staying chaser like that. He had a couple of very ordinary runs, maybe 3 ordinary runs, and now he's come back to form. I'd be expecting him to hold his form. I always had him down as a left-handed horse, and it kind of intended to look a bit awkward going right-handed in the past. But big open tracking down Royal, he looked fine. But there's plenty of races at good left-handed tracks now coming up. You have your Nav and Naas, Leopardstown, all of those kind of coming on stream. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to win the game, because he'd still be lower than he was at his peak. And they said he definitely doesn't look fast based on Saturday.
Very good. The one that caught my attention now in a negative way, which is the way I would more see it, was the winner Maj 2, the 3-year-old hurdle, and the filly of Gordon Elliott's, and she'll be all the rage now, going to those good 3-year-old races at Fairy House and Punchestown. And to be honest, I thought the Bill Durkin horse, whose name escapes me, Tony, you might know it off the top of your head.
Yeah, Wizard of Odds.
Yeah, I thought he was coming to win the race, only for the really bad mistake at the second last, and was kind of looked after. What did you think, Tony?
Yeah, what I would say is that was a really weird race in terms of the pace. They went really, really hard from the first to three out, like, compared to the other three races over hurdles. The 3-year-olds should not be racing that much faster than older maiden hurdlers and good solid handicap hurdlers and even bumper horses later on. So it was a bit of a pace collapse. Those races don't happen that often. I'd just be reluctant to judge really anything too strongly if that. Although I was a bit disappointed with Ross O'Sullivan's horse. The Ross O'Sullivan's horses are just running through a wall at the minute. Charlie Chute there yesterday up the Curragh, really impressive. Like switched from D's, who's good winner in the maiden. For his horse to be in such good form and BB Moose to be disappointed, I thought it was a bit concerning. But yeah, I'm just not sure about Monge too, whether I want to write her off. It was a funny race.
Man, maybe not write her off. She's only had one run, to be fair, but Gordon's talking about her as being his best kind of, triumph hurdle, not triumph hurdle, but that division. And he was saying he was sorry he didn't have, I think it was pieces or blinkers on her. So I thought the head went up in the air a bit as well. I just think maybe she's not that good. But that's it. We'll move on to more hurdlers, and let's hear from Pat Cooney from Bet365.
Hello and welcome back to the Racehour. Absolutely thrilled to have you here, Pat. This is you and the Racehour. Absolutely great to have you on board.
Yeah, looking forward to it. First one of the season, so the National Hunt's really gotten underway now. We've just had our Charlie Hall meeting at Wetherby, and so you get very much a jumping vibe about it from here on in. So there's going to be plenty of movers and shakers in the Ante Post market every day of the week, I would imagine.
100%. And would you be a jumps man or a flat man or both, Pat? How would you sway?
I've always preferred the flat, really, but I can pick my punches, really. I like the best of either. So give me the best of the flat, and then give me the best of the jumps. So we're a little bit in the twilight zone at the moment. We've got one more week to go with the flat, but I've kind of put it to bed, particularly after the Breeders' Cup at the weekend, and I won't be looking at a flat race unless it's a Wolverhampton on the all-weather, maybe, until I start having a study up at the end of March, maybe.
And overall, Pat, we would be kind of a real Jones podcast, but what would your highlights have been of the flat season? It was a hell of a season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just fallen in love with every Aidan O'Brien 2-year-old that I saw come out and win. It was one of those things that it'd have one come out and when I go, do you know, that's the one.
That's a Derby horse, yeah.
And then it'd get beat by another one of his, and I'd be thinking, oh, well, maybe it's that one and that one and that one. So no point putting them in the tracker because it'd be about 50 of them in there. But it's been a real stellar season for Aidan. And you look at the 2-year-olds that he's had. I mean, he could win all 5 classics next year for sure, couldn't he? There's that real domination about them, and he's got a horse for every distance this time around as well. So, that was the big highlight for me. And just the thought of what they could go on to do at 3 as well. So that's all very intriguing.
Yeah, no, I got 100%. And then Pat, obviously, big kind of weekend of jumps racing. Jello was impressive. Now, obviously, hard to see what kind of he'll go on to next, but he did shorten the price for a King George, and he's just a really likeable horse, isn't he? That was a very good performance in the Bet365 Charlie Chase, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Charlie Hall
absolutely.
Chase, sorry.
Yeah, he is only a 7-year-old, so his best days are in front of him. Ordinarily, you'd look at him at the 3 mile, having moved up for the thing, and you think, oh, well, he could be a Ryanair contender. But talking to Venetia Williams after the race, she's very much of the opinion that she'd like to be wrong, of course, but his form does taper off towards as we progress throughout the season. So the November-December version of Jello is an awful lot better than the March-April one. And I think she's just that he's an early season type. He goes to the Peterborough Chase at Huntingdon at the end of the month, and he won that last year. But there's no plans beyond that. So I'd hold fire on any Cheltenham thoughts about him. But he's always best fresh, and she'd be mad keen to come back and try and win it again next year as well.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was a great, actually, a really good spectacle. But that's kind of tees up the season. I always find we like to come back around this weekend always, Pat, because we find that there's, the other weeks you can be kind of scrapping for content. From this point in, I find it's weekend after weekend now of kind of top class racing. And which horses so far have attracted the kind of most interest, Ante Post wise, with Bet365, Pat?
Well, it's quite interesting to keep it as topical as we can, damn it. There is a bit of a move at the moment for the Champion Chase, and it's Paul Nicholls' horse, a horse called Caliph de Burley, who's only a 5-year-old. Now, he's rated 156, so he's got work to do to get up onto the top table. But I noticed he's intended to run in the Haldon Chase at Exeter on Friday. He's very much in that hitman mold at the moment where he could make the breakthrough, he maybe not, but as I say, it rated 156. You could have some lot of fun keeping with him and seeing how far he does progress up the ranks. But Paul Nicholls is very, very sweet on the horse as a prospect. He's one of them they've always loved. Can't wait for him to go second season chasing. So he's very much of interest. So Exeter Friday will tell us a lot more about him. But we're currently laying the 16-1 about him for the champion chase. So it wouldn't be a surprise if he could win impressively on Friday. You might be thinking single figure prices. So it's that kind of a scenario, Dermot, at the moment where people are looking for horses to impress on their debut and halve in price. I mean, it's a little bit bizarre at the moment. We've got the Supreme Hurdle. We're 12-1 the field in that. And
yeah.
we're 12-1 the field in the bumper. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute. We're normally 4-1 something by now. So we all know something will go off short and there'll be probably a darts thrown at the dartboard. But it's a little bit different this time of year. We don't have an odds-on favourite in our lists on anything at the moment. So, it's a bit more open this year as we speak at the moment.
It is, Pat. I've got about 5 or 6 test matches saying this is the Willie Mullins one. About 5 of them, so they can't all be the Willie Mullins one. But hopefully that just means that they don't know down there, barring that my sources are obviously terrible. But yeah, no, the Ante Post markets. I kind of quickly flew through them last night. We are focusing on the hurdlers this week. Pat, I went through the champion hurdle, and I don't know, State Man to me at 7-1 looked a fairly decent price. I know the new line could be absolutely ours, could be anything, but God, I thought he's a cracking price at 7-1, Pat.
Yeah, I'm a bit in agreement with you at the moment, of course. And what we have, and we're going to have for the duration and the build up to Cheltenham, is what's Lossie Mouth going to do now.
Yeah.
Willie Mullins has always been, I want a runner in the race she's most likely to win,
Yeah.
and that's probably going to be the mare's race now. Paul Townend, he loves State Man. So you got where will Lossie Mouth go? I think Willie's dreading every time she runs what the plans are. She's going to be obviously entered in them both all the way through. I'm a little bit like you. Right now, State Man is a very interesting price at 7-1. Very fair. You do look at the new one, and I'm not so sold on him really, because is he a 2-miler? He's only run over the 2 miles over hurdle once, and he wasn't hugely impressive at the Cheltenham Festival. I know you've done well to win at the Cheltenham Festival, but that was 2.5. And you're probably going to have to be a quick horse to win a champion hurdle. I'm not so sure he is a 2-miler. Now, if he goes to Newcastle for the Fighting Fifth, which would be a sharp track, and he wins that, then, it's game on there. But as things stand at the moment, I do look at the new one and thinking, I'm not so sure at 2 miles. And what we are laying is horses each way. The State Man is proving popular. And one we are laying is William Money each way, around about 16-1. Now, he is a 2-miler for sure.
Yes.
And Barry Connell, he always praises his horses, and rightly so. So we're laying horses like him each way. And the other one of interest is Amsterdam.
Yeah, of course. Really dark horse, isn't he? He's very dark.
Yeah. He's very much in there. There'll be many of these between now and the start of the meeting. He's in the could be anything section. Now, he's owned by Joe Donnelly. And Joe Donnelly, he's not averse to running 2 horses in the same colours in the same race. So if he's a 2-miler champion hurdle, they won't be saying we're going to run him in the Stayers hurdle instead. He'll take his part as well. So he's around about 12 or 14-1 chance. If he dots up on the bridle on his first win of the season, he's going to have a string of ones by his name, and he's going to introduce himself. But it's an interesting market. I say I'm not so sold on the new one. I'm willing to jump aboard. Lossie Mouth, we don't know. And our old pal Constitution Hill, I mean, they seem to be happy with him. But we're 8-1, and you're thinking, well, is that not a fair price? But I don't know anyone who thinks 8-1 is a good price about Constitution Hill. I think he's one of them.
Yeah.
If he was to come out and win the Fighting Fifth, we might all be queuing up to take 3-1 about him. But we're all in. I don't know. I know Sprinter Sacra. He had a blip and he bounced back. It's a hard thing to do, and his run on his final run of the year, he was really, really poor. But the vibes are positive. But not for me at 8-1. Thank you very much.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more with you on the new line. I thought I thought, watching the back last night, I thought the other two horses are definitely stayers, and I don't think the new line was like, he didn't outpace them. He kind of hung on there, had a good turn of foot to get to them, but then his stamina kicked in. I'd be very interested in him as a stayer hurdle horse. We'll move on to now, but look, he will go champion hurdle, but yeah, no, I'm not sure he's the quickest horse in the whole world. Stayers hurdle then, Pat. This race could be, I mean, this is the race where you could find a massive price runner here, because it's obviously this division's wide open. I always find that poor old Teahupoo doesn't quite get the respect that he deserves. Probably ran on firm ground last year, soft ground next year again. He's banged there kind of once again, but it's a hell of a division so far, is it? There's just a lot of horses here who could be anything really. As you said about
Yeah, absolutely. And then with Teahupoo, I've been saying the same thing for about 2 or 3 seasons with him now. You can't back him right now, Ante Post, because he is at his best on soft ground.
Yeah.
If someone said to you, listen, it will be soft ground on Stayers Hurdle Day, I can guarantee it, then he's very much of interest. But if we have a dry Cheltenham, who knows what we get Cheltenham these days,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you have to take him hugely seriously. The horse that has attracted the money over the last couple of weeks has been Ballyburn. Now, Ballyburn will know him. He was a terrific novice stay-in hurdler 2 seasons ago. And he didn't look the full article over fences last year. He did, and then he didn't. But it always seemed hard work for him. And it looks as though the plan is to go back for what would seem to be a wide open stayers division over the hurdles. And were he to come back and show what he's capable of over hurdles, I'm sure he'd be the one that would be, the market leader from here on in. So Ballyburn has been popular, but this is a type of race at the moment. You could have failed novice chasers reverting back hurdling. You could have horses moving up in trip, so there could be many twists and turns in this race. But I think the interest one is most certainly Ballyburn, who now heads the market with us for the race.
Yeah, I'm kind of not sure about him now as a racehorse at all. It's kind of hard to see what he actually is now. But look, hopefully he can bounce back. Serious promise there, but yeah, I don't know. He jumped like a snooker table last season, didn't he, over fences anyway? But and then finally, Pat, this week we're going to finish our show with, we want you on here, Pat, obviously as a racing PR guru. You are. But our listeners should know that you're also one of the most shrewdest men in racing as well. So, Pat, who would your horse be to follow for the season? Let's say a dark horse to follow, and then maybe one horse that you're looking to take on.
Well, I start with the one I'm looking to take on, really, and for my sins, it's a Willie Mullins horse. So straight away, I'm rolling the dice there. It's got to be Kopek the Boards, hasn't
Agreed.
it? He's going novice chasing now. We all know he was a high-class novice hurdler. He's now going chasing. He is a pure 2-miler, so you don't have to worry about, is he going to go here, there, or anywhere. He will go for the Arkle, all being well. But he's got no brakes. He takes a keen hold. He couldn't jump hurdles. And his final run of the campaign, he was disappointed. We all know we get to Punchestown.
Punchestown, that can happen. Yeah.
And they get beat at Punchestown, don't they? Because they have had a hard season. But he couldn't jump a hurdle when it hurdles that high. And now he's going to jump a fence that high. And I know it's a different discipline and everything else, but this is favourite to win the Arkle. And I'm fully prepared for him to be absolutely spectacular winning on his novice chase debut. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if he just bulldozed the first fence and, was desperately unimpressive. I get that he's the classy horse for the race, but I can't get my head around. He couldn't jump hurdles, so I know chasing is different, but I say he's got no brakes. He's a wonderful horse, but I'd have my doubts with him. That's going to come back and bite me, I'm sure. So
no, Pat, look, I can spoil it now for the listeners because this is halfway through. I actually couldn't agree with you more. I'm putting him up. Also, I was torn between him and Ballyburn, and no risk at all. Apart from Allaho, they don't tend to make great chasers either. So there is a bit against them, all right.
Yeah, and I'm being a bit more adventurous really with my horse to follow. And having been at Wetherby on Saturday, I was talking to Ollie Murphy, and he had a non-runner in the first race at Wetherby on Saturday, and it was a horse called Willstar. And the pedigree fans will know he's a half-brother to Duvan and a half-brother to John Bond. So
not bad, not bad. Yeah.
he's got big shoes to fill there, really. Yeah. I suppose he might be the disappointment of the family, but he's had the 2 runs over in bumpers. He ran with promise, placed on the first one, and easily won a minor race next time out. But Ollie Murphy thought he would trim because the ground was a little bit on the far side for him on Saturday. But he said, "Oh, he's a real, real lovely prospect, and he was fit to ready to roll on Saturday, so he's going to be coming out pretty soon as well." Now, again, a caveat I would throw there to Ollie Murphy, he's not all about the Cheltenham Festival,
No, not at all. Yeah,
so
yeah.
they won't be peaking at the Cheltenham Festival. They'll be winning their races prior to that and maybe skipping it and going to Liverpool. So I would certainly keep an eye on Will Star. He'll come with a bit of hype about him because of who his half brothers are, but it looks as though he's sending out the right signals. So he could be the type that could quickly win 3 or 4 novice hurdles, this side of Christmas. So Will Star, as I say, half brother to Duvan and John Bond. So he's bred to be good. It doesn't work out that way, but the signs are pretty optimistic here.
Pat, that's exactly the horse we wanted. But also, Pat, just to finish on, he will be joined by the brilliant Sean Bowen. Is there a more bookies foe that there's ever been since AP McCoy, Pat? He's phenomenal, isn't he? He's just a phenomenal jockey.
Yeah, I mean, we've just come off of a real hectic weekend, Breeders' Cup, and then we had racing at Weatherby, Ascot, Newmarket, etc. Our worst result of the day was him winning on Strong Leader in the Sayers Hurdle at Weatherby. And I wouldn't mind. I was in the grandstand watching it, and I cheered him over the line as well, and I clapped him as he came in. And then when I got the figures, I was thinking, what on earth was I doing cheering and clapping him? But when you see greatness like that, you have to say, okay, okay. We'll have to win on other races, but it's tremendous and so popular. And it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, he gives everything a great ride, and he's a lovely fella as well. But he's now at the stage where he's riding 4 winners in a day, which that's less than amusing when you check the figures in the office the following day. So I better taper down my give him the cheer and a round of applause after every magnificent ride. So I'll have to start learning to hate him, I think, like everyone else in the office.
That's fair. I don't think any of our listeners would be pitting you anyway, Pat. But Pat, absolutely brilliant as always, and I look forward to chatting to you all every week.
Yeah, looking forward to the season. Yeah, good stuff.
Hey, welcome back to part 2 of the Racehour, sponsored by Bet365, home of the position payout. Position payout, Tony. Have you a deal at home with that yourself?
Yeah. Are you trying to get us sacked in the first week there? I was kind of making the point that horse from Ascot there at the weekend, the changing man, would be a good lad for the position payout. He seems to like finishing second, although Hitman was holding the record for that until he won at the entry there not so long ago. So yeah, every dog has its day and what have you.
He was. No, I actually put this into a WhatsApp group I'm in about what horse would fit the position payout the best. And the answers were like the Boywise and Blastic Coleman was another one as well who'd fit that to absolute perfection, because obviously the position payout for any of our listeners at home is that rather than each way, you can back a horse in position payout, and the higher up the position. So if the horse finished second, you win more than finishing third. Serious product from Bet365. So I was trying to figure out what horse fits best, and the changing man actually fits that absolutely perfectly. Yeah.
Very good. So at this part of the show, we are going to talk about the top 10 hurdlers from last year's Anglo-Irish classifications. And I'm going to switch around between you lads as I look through the list of horses. And we'll actually start from the top because it might be a bit more interesting. And Diarmuid Nolan, State Man, was top last year, 167 across the classifications. So he is going into the new season, not as the champion hurdle winner, but the highest rated hurdler. What are your views on him this year?
I know Tony has a note about his trainer on this horse, so I'll leave that. But looking at the Bet365 market here, I thought 7-1 for a champion hurdle on State Man. Considering everything else, because we'll get to the new line, but I think he's a stayer. So I think 7-1 about State Man for this race, as long as he doesn't maybe go off the rails as far as he did last season. But I don't think State Man's great on very soft, very heavy ground. I think he's a better horse kind of on the better ground, which I think he proved at Cheltenham last year. So I think if they can plot a safer course with him this year, stay away from kind of the brighter days ahead of kind of tracks like that, I think kind of plot back towards Cheltenham, 7-1 is a cracking price. I think he's far and away the best hurdler there by his distance.
Yeah, he was definitely the moral winner of the champion hurdle.
He was moral winner, definitely.
He would have won had he stood up. Tony, have you had that on State Man?
Yeah, well, look, up until Saturday evening, maybe Ethical Diamond was the best training performance in Mullins' career, but I thought the way he got State Man back last season was absolutely brilliant. Like he 3 kind of very ordinary runs in Ireland, plenty going wrong. got him to Cheltenham, put the headgear on, probably would have won the champion hurdle well, and then gets him back to Punchestown and does win their champion hurdle. Just brilliant. Now, where that means he fits in this year, I don't know, but I'd just say 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 training performance from Mullins.
Yeah. Well, another season ahead, he'll be heading for the Margiana, and then he'll be heading for Leopardstown twice, as he always does, I suppose. And we'll see where he lies. He's going to be a year older, of course. And our old friend next on the classifications, Tony, was Bob Ollinger, and I can't believe we're saying this, but he was last year's World Hurdle winner. Or stairs.
Another 10 out of 10 training performance from the Bromhead here. Horse that looked like he was in bother, holds his head a bit high, all that, but brilliant training performance, brilliant riding performance. Sounds like he's not going to have much racing this season. Just reading the comments there from the trainer, it sounded like maybe just one run before Cheltenham, but already he's kind of shown this season that he can keep these old boys sweet, like N Violin. So why fix if it's not broken, which is something they're trying to do with another one of the horses later on who will come to.
Yes, and next in the classifications, Constitution Hill. Dermo, I'm going to ask you a question now off the top of your head. What price would you make him to run in the champion hurdle this year?
Oh, he'd be short enough to run now. I'd say he'll have. Oh God, he'd be odds on now to run. I think he's like, I don't see them. I'd say they'll just persevere with him all season. I'd say there'll be a touch now of the kind of sprinter stackers with him now. I don't think they'll kind of retire him. I think they'll just keep on trucking with him. Looked sulky to me last season at the end of the season. I don't think there's anything physically wrong with him. I think he's just not with it at the moment. I'd say probably they were a bit too kind of light in him. I remember reading Richard Hughes' book before about Camphor Cliffs, and they got him back in after summer, and they'd been fierce soft with him over the winter, and he basically took him out and gave him a good, a proper good schooling up and down. And I'd say Constitution Hill to me now looks like a horse that he just looks like he's forgotten how to race to me. I'm not sure there's much else wrong with him. Couldn't touch him at 8-1, but I'd say they just have to get a bit tougher with him, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you've such a bad fall at Cheltenham, you have a bad fall at Aintree, and then you run so sour at Punchestown. I'd say it might be too far away now if something happens in the Fighting Fifth or Kempton along the lines of a sulky, not net in run. I just think, I don't think it'd be a Nicky to persevere too much longer. I think we're one run or two bad runs away from seeing the end of him, but then it is Nicky Henderson, and he is the master of bringing them back.
Bringing the horse back, yeah. But still, though, Cass, you'd want your head checked to back him, wouldn't you? Yeah.
To be honest, and we haven't been touching on it. I have no great interest in looking at things in the context of Cheltenham. I mean, the Fighting Fifth is coming up. The Christmas hurdle is coming up at Kempton, so that's where the horizon is for us when we're looking at these things at the moment. Anyway, and Tihupu next, Tony. He was ranked 4th on 162. They're going to keep him a bit busier this year, is what Gordon's kind of suggested.
Yeah.
It should be good to see.
Yeah, good to see maybe, but like, what race did he miss last season that they wanted to take in? Like the Goran?
Apply is the only one I was thinking of, yeah.
I'm surprised at this. Like, trying to fix something that isn't broken as far as I'm concerned. He went to Fairyhouse last season. The ground was too fast. Fair enough. Nothing wrong with Cheltenham ran very well. Punchestown won really well. I know people say you should run the horses more frequently, but I think that's a bit of a one-size-fits-all approach. I think the space in the races out would work very well for this horse. He just needs a little bit more luck with getting slow ground coming up at the right time. Maybe they need to be a little bit more flexible about where they want to go around the ground and things like that. They might want to pick an Ascot rather than Fairyhouse. Maybe Ascot in late December were a bit better chance of slow ground than Fairyhouse in early December. I don't know. But I'm not sure that running this horse 5 or 6 times a season is actually going to work. It might need to make backfire.
Yeah. And there's a lot of 3-mile hurdlers in this list, which is maybe a sign of how maybe not weak the champion hurdle division is, but maybe not how sexy it is when there's a load of 3-mile hurdlers. But Home by the Lee was next on the list at 160. Tony, a horse you've spoken about a lot, so I'll stick with you on him. There's not much to say with him, really, is there? He puts it in some days.
Yeah, there is. I backed them last year for the Stayers hurdle, and he was brought down and all that, and it was racing in the right position vis-a-vis Tihupu and Bob Ollinger. But I actually think he was putting in a fairly mulish performance now in Cheltenham, and he did the exact same in Aintree. I would really like to see him come back to form because I'd find it very hard to back him for anything until I see that. Like, I think they mentioned the change of work rate or tweaking him up last season, but he had gone again at Cheltenham. I suppose a dirty fall or dirty been brought down probably didn't help him recover form after that. So he'd be best watch for me at the moment anyway.
Yeah, he's the kind of horse I think you could put in a couple of bad runs. He might be 33-1, and that's when you should back him because you just don't know when he's going to do it. On the day, and a horse we talked about a lot last year, Dermo, was Brighter Days Ahead. Sensational, of course, at Leopardstown in the Irish Champion Hurdle, but the wheels came off at Cheltenham. Do you think she's going to bounce back this year?
I heard David Jennings talking to Gordon Elliott about her actually, and they both seem to be of the opinion that she just kind of went wrong after Christmas. I think, Cass, we all got a lot wrong at Cheltenham last year, but one thing that you most definitely got right was, I maybe don't agree that I wouldn't question her mentality per se, but she hates Cheltenham, really. I mean, that is the kind of length of it. I thought she was just, she definitely cocked her jaw too out anyway when I was kind of going through it, as you would call, and you got a bit of a hiding about it, but she's going to be brilliant over fences, but I will talk about it later on. I think she'll do very well over fences and get the Cheltenham, and then I think she'll be long odds on because she's obviously the best. She will be the best mare there, but I think that will open up a real chance. I kind of taken her on I think I found one there to take her on. I'll talk about later on. So she'll have a good season, but I think then it'll taper off from about kind of February onwards.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, is it just a Cheltenham thing? I mean, I wasn't suggesting she was sour or anything, but she just looked to hate Cheltenham in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and I was just pointing that out, that, she did go in behind in the Mayor's Novice, and she kind of, like you say, she cocked her jaw then last year in the Champion Hurdle and just doesn't like the place. And, is it a kink or is there a fault in her? So we'll find out soon enough when she goes over fences, and then, we'll have that conversation going into Cheltenham. Lassie Mouth, magnificent mare, another superb training performance, Tony. I would say mother and father of a fall at Leopardstown and then came back. And of course, won at Cheltenham and Aintree. Probably be something similar for her campaign-wise this year.
Yeah, they don't really have strong views on her. We get into the same kind of irritating stuff with where she running, where she not running, and things like that. But yeah, just wait and see with her.
Yeah, it's not that exciting, Dermo, is it? Because I know we're trying not to talk too much about Cheltenham, but like, she's not going to run as a Champion Hurdle, so it's not.
No, and so like, she'll probably go into all those kind of grade ones again, but they've got Al Nadam as well and everything else there. She's one now that properly bores me now, because you'll have the same people arguing that she should go for the mares and win another race there. We'd love to see her at the top level. She was excellent last year. I actually watched back all of Cheltenham again. She was brilliant, but definitely one of the most boring topics.
Willie has said she'd probably go back to Kempton. So if you're looking at, if the New Lion bolts up in a fighting fifth, then it's the New Lion versus her at Kempton. That's something different, something new. That could be fantastic at Christmas, to be fair.
Yeah, she probably dogged that last year, didn't she? She dogged Kempton last year, whatever that was about. But definitely could be. But this is the Champion Hurdles, a race. It's my favorite division. Like this is like, I love a Champion Hurdle, absolutely love it. But geez, this division has to catch fire this year, because it's been a long time since we actually got a division consistently the whole way through the year that's been strong. It's been all over the place again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but the next turf we're coming to in terms of rating, same rating as last year, of course, you get the Mayor's Allowance, 159, and his favourite for the Champion Hurdle, that was a Hollywood Press sponsors. I don't have the market up here. I think he's something like 7-2 or something.
Yeah, 7-2.
Yeah, is he? Good.
Which is 5, yeah.
7-2 with 365, the New Lion, and Dermo, he's all the rage anyway. He's the talking horse for the season.
Yeah, and he was very good in that race last season, but I think that Bearing Bingham race last year was 3 stayers. Now I know Tony has his own kind of opinion on the second or the third final demand. Was second or whatever he was. But
okay, it was second.
Third.
Final.
Yeah. I watched it back. I left that race with the opinion that they were 3 stayers and he was the least slow of them. And I have rewatched it about 3 times, and definitely doesn't quicken for me. He's the least slow of them jumping the last. I think they're 3 good horses, but I think the New Line, when we get to the better ground start of the season, is up against a properly quick horse, a la State Man. I think the State Man would just, on any bit decent ground, which isn't a given, obviously, I think he'll be outclassed. I cannot stand this rhetoric that you want your champion hurdles to be winning over 2.5 miles at the previous year, and that Supreme horses are stayers, and that Bearing Billing horses are a thing. There's about 3 of them. They've all been superstars, but the rest of them are all stayers. And last season, he started his career over 2.5 miles. There's no trainer in the world who thinks they have a speedster starts their horse at 2.5 miles. You always start them at 2 miles and work your way up. They started him at 2.5 miles. I am convinced that this horse, I'd love him for a stayer's hurdle. I wouldn't love him for a champion hurdle. He's one that I'll be happy enough to kind of be half looking at, kind of avoiding all season, Cass.
Yeah, strong take there from Dermo, and the horse that he ties in with and was third in that Bearing Bigham Novices Herd was Final Demand, Tony. We'll ask you about him. He's kind of joint 8th, 9th and 10th are together. We'll go Final Demand.
Yeah, I know he's going to be going chasing. My thought on him was that he's just not a Cheltenham horse. I know it's very early doors to be saying that, but he was strikingly visually impressive in both his early Irish runs, Limerick and Leopardstown. He goes to Cheltenham, and I thought he was running them in the wrong race. I thought the 3-mile race would suit him better. That was my theory afterwards, and I suppose what Diarmuid is saying. But then he goes back to Punchestown, and Punchestown's obviously sharper, 2.5 miles in Cheltenham, nice ground. And he reverts to the form of Limerick and Leopardstown and wins really impressively. You can say Mullen's factor at Punchestown and the yellow tail maybe is a bit over the top and all that type of stuff. But I just wonder, is Cheltenham not going to be his track? I could easily see him racking up a sequence here in Ireland, winning really wide margins. That seems to be what he does when he's racing Ireland so far. And then perhaps not like in Cheltenham. And I don't think that's going to be in the market. I think that's unlikely to be in the market. Like already here with 365, he is 11-4 for the Brown Advisory. He's only going to get shorter, I imagine, unless he doesn't take the fences, which I think is quite unlikely.
Yeah, and a big galloping track, you'd imagine, would be what would suit him. Like he's going to love Leopardstown and eat the fences there. But the old course for the Brown Advisory is going to be a different story. Tony, you kind of touched on Hidden Valley Lake earlier. If you gave me 100 goes at what horses were in this list, Hidden Valley Lake,
They were funny even there, yeah.
Strange mix.
I remember. I know. I can see the colours. I can see the Atchison colours, the Rob Kerr colours, and I would have said he's a 12-year-old and he's retired now. I forgot about it.
He was very good at Aintree, wasn't he? He was very good at Aintree, fair to say.
Yeah. I think with him, he's another Theatre. He just needs to be best fresh, doesn't he? I think when you back him up quickly, he doesn't turn up. So you just need to space those out. Target one at one staying hurdle, one at the other. I think Hidden Valley Lake is supposed to show to the entry that he is a bit more versatile with the ground. That he can handle nice ground. Fresh just seems to be a thing with him. He's running back within 5 or 6 weeks. You can probably oppose him.
Yeah, and an interesting novice was the last one was with the 158 Dermo Kopek de board. He's going to be interesting over fences.
Yeah, Pat Cooney put him up now as a horse that he wants to take on all season. And I've agreed with him. I'm taking on a different one. No risk at all. I was listening to the Racing Post show. The last mention they'll get on this podcast. Pat Keeley was on it, and he said that only one no risk at all horse has won a chase over 40,000. And that was Allaho. All the rest of them have struggled over fences. Now, of course, that might not kind of translate to him, but he was a rotten hurdler. Like his jumping technique's not great at all. He missed the last. He gave William Money a chance. He has some engine. He's an absolute monster of a racehorse. But I don't know. Sometimes people say, "Oh, he didn't respect his hurdlers. He could do it over fences." I don't know. I can't remember many hurdlers that were that bad jumping hurdlers that ended up in cracking chasers either. Now, kind of Willie Mullins does belie that at times, as in Shambally Kid won a chaser at Punchestown, and he did not look a chaser ever. And then all of a sudden, dots up. We did that around the wide outside in a handicap chase. I've gone around the houses here, but I am happy enough. I will be taking him on to a certain degree. I think there will be plenty of horses now that middle distance grade 1 is gone, that will be taking him on. And yeah, I wouldn't be a big believer now that he'll turn into a cracking chaser. Just his technique was all wrong last season, Cass.
Yeah, Chase debut is going to tell a lot there. You think of and there's a lot of horses that would have been hyped going over fences that didn't turn out to be chasers. From Willie Mullins, Ballyburn springs to mind, Sir Gerhard springs to mind, that they were never natural hurdlers. But I think you're going to see an awful lot on his Chase debut. Like he'll be 1-7 at Thurles. I'm sure he'll win, but How is his technique? Tony, if you hadn't add on him, I'd say Dermot's hit the nail on the head.
I think he's hit the nail on the head. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, that closes out the 10 hurdlers. We'll do the chasers next week, and we are going into a section where we talk about our dark horses for the season to follow. So, Tony, we're going to you next, so you can tell us your dark horse for the year.
God, yeah, at this stage of the game, I tend to bet less in the graded races and kind of more on handicaps and maiden orders and ordinary race. She's not really a dark horse, but my horse that is a good horse to me that I think could be a very good horse is Spindlebury. I just liked her all. I've liked her all throughout her career. I think the only day she underperformed at Punchestown in 24, she had every excuse. I think she clattered, the second hurdle or something, nearly fell in front of her. She had every excuse. Every other day she turned up and run her race. Really good at Fairy House at Easter. I love the way she came back on the bridle between the final two, picked up Champ Cayley kind of easily enough. I think she's unexposed. I think she might be better over 3 miles. Mullins has said a couple of, I suppose, maybe, I don't think they're particularly evidence-based things. He said that she might be better right-handed, although he's changed his tune a little bit in that in recent weeks. He just thinks the races are there left-handed. She's going to have to go for them now. She is in Clonmel on Thursday. I'm not sure if the ground will be soft enough to take her to, and that she maybe wants slow ground. Look, the obvious race for her long-term is the Mare Chase, but there's no reason to think she's already beaten the Geldings in a grade 1. Why would she not kind of take them on again? Now, more in low-grade races, or at least lesser races than that, one horse that's taken me out in the last couple of weeks, I think might be able to win a race hopefully in the short term, is a horse called Hermino that has just joined Eric McNamara. Now he's Eric McNamara's a kind of really unusual trainer in that he buys kind of horses that no one else really wants, to my bet.
Yeah, real steel in these horses. Yeah.
His training performance in the Limerick National now was as good as you'll see all season. Like what he did there was equivalent with what he has to Willie Wynn and Breeders' Cup by to get it to 1 day and run the way they did.
Agree completely, lads. And he's 3 or 4 years doing this now. Like he real steel, as you said. Like Paul Nichols couldn't really knock any tune out of him. Mullins got rid of him. I know that was maybe owner related rather than anything else. He'd another one there, Falco Blitz, who looked like a busted flush altogether. He got 2 or 3 wins.
Burst and everything. Could burst the fibers and everything. Yeah.
Problem horses. I think both of those horses in the Limerick National, like again, that's to say nobody want them is a little bit harsh. Like French Dynamite and I think what we've all McCarthy, both of them 40,000. 40,000. Like, it's not big money by national hunt standards, even if they are aggressive types. But both of them look like they could win again or certainly be competitive. But this is another horse in a kind of a similar mould. He was with kind of Gary Moore, from what I can gather there. He kind of ran in the 2-2 novice chase at Galway there a couple of weeks back. Just kind of thought he'd be the type of horse he'd do well with. Finished off well, first run in about 6 months. And I think they're probably handicap chasing him kind of somewhere along the line. Just matching up kind of trainer profile with the type of horse he does well with lately.
Oh, very good. Okay, Hermino, a dark horse to follow for Tony. Your dark horse, Dermo?
Push the Button, trained by Mark Walford there over in the north of England. This is a horse trained by Nigel Twiston-Davies last season. Would have been 6th from a mile back in the Martin Pipe. Then went on to finish a very good 4th behind Deep Cave at Aintree. Really, really good handicapper, young horse as well. And basically, he is now running for Mark Walford. He took advantage of the mark there, but he's 135 now over hurdles and fences. He looked to me of a mark of 136 at Aintree last year, like he'd be winning a big handicap hurdle. He jumped fences first time out for Mark Walford really, really well. So off a mark of 135 now over both disciplines, I think there's plenty of races over both of them for him. I would be surprised if he doesn't leave the season with a win over at least one of those disciplines. It'll be fences, I'd say, but just with how well he has stayed over hurdles, cast something like the Eider Chase at the end of the season or something like that with him, I think he could end up a decent price there. And he's just ran very well in some big field handicaps now. I just think he's very dark push the button, and I just would see him winning some big handicap chase at the end of next season.
Okay, well, don't find it very hard. So I'm not going a very dark one, but maybe a forgotten horse. I thought Back to Normal was unbelievable when he won at Leopardstown in February. Like he was
on the bridle. he laughed at him. Yeah.
But I watched it back this morning. His jumping is unbelievable. Like he's so relaxed. He's so casual.
He jumped very well all the days he wasn't trying as well. He jumped great. Does this? Go on, sorry.
Those 3 days where eye-catching to say the least. And then he just his first run in the handicap was fourth run over fences in amongst seasoned handicappers, and he was in amongst the middle of the pack and just jumped unreal. He could be very good. I think he's rated 143 now, and I'd imagine he definitely wants to go up and trip. I'd imagine they'll go for the Paddy Power chase at Christmas. So back to normal. He's not really dark, but I'd say he is forgotten because he hasn't ran since February. Yeah, Elliot or Cromwell's stable tour said all is fine. He's back in training. I'd say you could be surprised how good he is. He's actually bred by my neighbour Michael Renan, who passed away last year, 100 yards down the road from me. He bred Moonracer with the same man. So well able to breed a good horse, that's for sure. And he'd be my one to watch. And then horses to take on. I'll go first, actually, because briefly I was going to take on all of the Bearing Bigham form, but we've kind of gone through that. The Yellow Clay was the only one we didn't touch on. And with him as well, he had a desperately hard fall at Punchestown, like really, really awful fall when he was going to be beaten about 25 lengths by Final Demand, and Tripoli Flyer was going to pass him out. I think his forms in the grade ones, beating the likes of Super Sunday, wasn't great last year. And I think, Diarmuid, you were right. It was stamina that got him to the front and the New Lion in that Bearing Bigham. And I don't think they're 2 milers. So I'd be kind of taking on all that form. That's the angle I was going to take. But we have discussed that. So, Dermo, your horse to take on for the year.
It was going to be Cuppick de Boer, but Pat Cooney put him up, so I will go for his stablemate Ballyburn instead. He's going back over hurdles again. I just thought he was rancid last season for kind of most of it, and going back over hurdles again. The form of his Bearing Bingham win. I know there's a Coral Cup winner there, but still, talking about a grade 1 here, and a lot of trainers are smelling the blood in the water with the stayers. There's a lot of horses not going over fences this season to kind of stay over hurdles. This is a warmer division, and Ballyburn, yeah, I'd have questions about his actual ceiling of ability now, Cass.
Yeah, very fair, very fair. He's one of those horses that didn't go over fences. Appreciate it came into my mind as well there after we talked about that Willie Mullins angle. And Tony, your horse to take on, have you an angle with that?
Yeah, look, I'm not massively wedded to this, and would have to just see about prices, but I think Brighter Days ahead. I take a chance with her. She did have a very hard race at Christmas. They're alluding to that in the stable tour there in the comments. I think she barked at Cheltenham, lads, to be honest. I wouldn't be forgiving her for Cheltenham at all. I thought she just threw it in completely. Race was kind of handed to her with what we know a Constitution Hill statement. I just didn't want to know. And it wasn't as bad as at Punchestown, but she gave a little bark there too. The other attitude wasn't great. So she said she kind of shown attitude in 2 races. I would like to see her show that she's straightforward again, and I couldn't countenance back on her until she does.
The old Paul Carberry line, the horse made a noise. Woof.
Yeah, I thought so anyway, yeah.
Okay, and we're going to finish up. Traditionally, we ask these shows, have we a bet for the season? We didn't cover ourselves in glory last year, but look, it's all a bit of fun anyway.
It's all about it. No one's listening just for tips, I don't think so. Go ahead.
I was to put up my bet, so I go first. Dermo, when we were in the break there, Dermo said, I'd go on, it's only a bit of crack. And he's right, it is only a bit of crack. And I actually did have a bet this week, and I told the two of you, I think we were talking about form that could be overrated with the Bearing Bingham. I think form that could be underrated is the Brown Advisory. I thought Lecky Watson was hugely impressive.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. In that, like, jumped really well for a horse that I didn't think had jumped well going into it. And we know, how good Willie is at getting him right for the big day. So if they train him for the Gold Cup, I thought him, and he loved the rattling fast ground. And the horse that finished second that day was Stellar Story, who wouldn't have liked the quicker ground that day. He ran an absolute belter, I thought, to finish second. To be honest, 100 to 1 about him now at Bet365 for the Gold Cup, I think is a great bet. But Lecky Watson 33s, if you Dutch the two of them, back the two of them, you kind of have 25 to 1 on both those horses from the Brown Advisory running for you in the Gold Cup. And I actually do think that's a good bet. And I do like a season-long bet in the Gold Cup. It's a bit of fun. It gives you an interest in all those staying chases. You mightn't actually have a bet in a lot. So I would put that up as a bet. Both Lecky Watson and Stellar Story, we call it Dutched at 25 to 1. I think it's 24 to 1, something like that, for the Gold Cup. Diarmuid, Nolan, you also have a bet at this early stage.
I have 2, so I won't have any for a few weeks, but I'm back 2 kind of half properly. One is a Mare's Chase. Weirdly, I seem to always have a Mare's Chase bet for the whole season, but I do like a kind of front-running mare who jumped her hurdles well, but maybe jumped them a little bit too high. I think Diva Luna is a lovely mare. I know I get fair stick because my daughter's name is Luna, and people think that's how I fell onto this mare. This mare was brilliant at Aintree in a Grade 1 bumper. Last season, she kind of ran into one at Sandown, got stuck in the mud. But at Cheltenham, she runs an absolute screamer. I think that mare's Novice's Hurdle from last season is a good race. I think Erev and Titeman and 6.5 are two very good mares. I think 6.5, Cromwell's horses were just running like drains at Punchestown at the end of the season. They'd really emptied that yard. He maximised them all year. I think they just had nothing left to give at Punchestown. She was kind of poor there, but they're two good mares. And turning in, Keelan Woods kicks, and he has them kind of a trouble. Keith Donoghue covers them. Rachel Blackmore lets them go on. And I actually think Keith Donoghue is probably done by Rachel Blackmore because he covers the move. But she's very good. Like Impervious, like Ellie May, like Limerick Lace, like kind of Dino Blue. I like my mare's over a fence to be very positive, and she's a really positive mare. Ben Pauling saying that she is a brilliant jumper of a fence and that we just haven't got to the bottom of it all. He can't seem to translate. He said she's the best workhorse by a mile at home, which does say a lot because he does have some very good horses there. So I think a 33-1 or so for a mare's chase. This is a mare that he's saying we're taking on the lads all season. I'd say they're going to end up falling back in here. And the 2.5 miles, 2 miles wouldn't have suited her. She's a staying mare, I think. So the 2.5 miles will suit her. And I think she could get away from the front. And we'll all be talking about Irish horses all season long. And she could creep in there at a decent price. But she's 33-1 at the moment. I think that's a good bet. The other horse that I think is a cracking bet is Django Bay at 12-1 for the King George. Bet 365. This horse has had a funny old life over trips. Was second behind handstands when travelling all over him. And I think if you watched that race back, Nico de Boinville probably would have got after him earlier. He turns up at Aintree and he looks like he's not going to win at all, ever going around the track. And then all of a sudden flies through at the end. Shouldn't have been running over 2 miles. He goes up to 2.5 miles for the Manifesto chase at Aintree. He's the only one of those front three who's had runs. The Gidley Park and Impair Pass were held back for Aintree. They're both the fresh horses. He's gaining on them the whole time. It's an absolutely monstrous effort. That's the one to kind of take out. He's going to get better as he goes up in trip. He's already rated 159. I think the market, I think a lot of markets are sleeping on him. He's not that short of 12s, but still, this is a horse with Grade 1, sorry, won a Grade 1, who has shown that he is better going up in trip. He's been running kind of funnily. 2.5 miles, he looked very good. He was behind Impair Pass, who I'd say will probably go as well. I think he'd reverse that form. Most of the horses who'd ran at Cheltenham didn't do great at Aintree. It was very close kind of together. He should be marked up massively on that. And 12-1 on him there for the King George, I just think is a cracking price because Django Bay, we're only going to see the best of him as he goes up in trip. And yeah, 12 is a big price, Cass.
Okay, very good. Fair play, Dermot. We have 2 bets there for the Ante Post season ahead. That's it for our first show. Welcome back, everyone. It's great to be back, and thanks for viewing. I'd ask you to like and subscribe, something we never do, but we need to get the algorithm going. Yes, when we're back. So please do. I should have done this at the start, but please do hit that like, subscribe, whatever you're meant to do. Thanks to our new sponsors, Bet365. Thanks to Tony Keenan, Diarmuid, Nolan, and we will chat to you all next week.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cordan Star into submission.